Well, welcome to this meeting of the Recreation and Amenities Committee. Just to remind everybody, this meeting has been recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community and local democracy. Being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to the YouTube channel. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording and public meetings policy if you need more information. So moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, election of a chair. Can I have a proposal?
Yes,
Nomination?
Yes, please.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Hart.
Councillor Hart, could I have a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Parr, have we any further nominations? Can we have a show of hands to approve Councillor Hart? That appears to come. Can we? Have we got an abstention? Were you showing your hand for that? Eventually. Right, okay. You just didn't. I did, Luke, and then you went back. Yeah. After. Right, okay. Order, please. Right, that is unanimous. Councillor Hart, would you like to take this place? Thank you very kindly.
Thank you very, very much. Your confidence, we appreciate it very much so. Election of the deputy chair. Do I have nominations? Councillor Jackson.
Could I nominate Councillor Parks, please? In the last 12 months, the chair and vice chair have worked seamlessly. Hopefully, we'll carry on to the next 12 as well.
Yeah. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kasiki?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. All those, do I have any further nominations? Do I have any further nominations? No? All those in favour of Councillor Adam Parks being the vice chair? I'll say as well. Thank you. We have a vice chair. And congratulations for your elevation as the Deputy Chair of Staffordshire Moorlands District Council. Congratulations.
Bridesmaid.
Nation.
I didn't know it was that supple, to be honest.
I always think that this particular committee does work extremely well. Cross-party, cross-group, and we do some very valuable work indeed.
If we had the additional
Yes. Yeah. Yes, there's an additional item from Councillor Holsworth. Do you mind, Councillor Holsworth, if I hold that till the end of the meeting?
Could I just ask to be actually included as a member of the committee, please? Again?
Yes. I thought you were actually. I looked at the list and thought, I think there's one or two missing. That's right. Yes. So Eardley was a member, and then you've taken over in his place as he's moved up to finance.
He's shot up.
Yes, and he's shot up. Oh dear, right. Thank you. Apologies, same as before.
yes.
Declarations of interest, pecuniary, any? No? Oh, okay. Other interests, any? No? Okay. May I approve and sign the minutes of the Recreation and Amenities Committee held on the 9th of April? May I do that? All those in favour? Thank you. To June already. Yeah. Right, that's done. Memorial testing, A, to receive a presentation in relation to the completed memorial safety testing across the burial sites. Yvonne.
Thank you very much. If I may, I'll roll A and B together because I've done you a little PowerPoint presentation on this, which I can send you afterwards if you'd like to look at the photos in more detail. But I just wanted to give you an overview of the process that's gone on over the past few weeks. So in terms of the kind of background, all memorials on burial sites should be inspected the minimum of 5 years. The period between inspections should be determined by a risk assessment. So we've been waiting some quite significant time, as you know, as committee members, for the faculty to come through from the diocese to give us permission to test those memorials that are in the churchyard. And that falls to us to do because of the transfer of the management of the closed churchyard. And then following the process that we went through, with the church, approval was granted at the Finance Strategy Management Committee in March this year to survey all the memorials across the churchyard, town burial ground and Woodhouse burial ground. And I can confirm that the surveys were completed in May 2024. The outcome of that is actually very positive. So the following memorials were tested in the churchyard, 1,500 memorials were tested. In the newer section of the burial ground, nearly 1,000 were tested there. And in the newer section of lawned memorials, kind of at the back of the newer bit at the back, if that makes sense, of the town burial ground, 1,400 memorials were done there. And then obviously with 250. Right, councillors, following a slight technical issue there, just to confirm, I'm not sure where we dropped out, that just over 4,000 memorials have been tested throughout May. Only 12 memorials across the 3 sites failed, and the team that tested the memorials have already made some initial recommendations there. There were 2 that they had to lie flat because of the danger involved in those. Stakes have been put in place with 3. 4 of the memorials have been cordoned off, and they propose that 3 of them will need further work. So in terms of there's further work needed on all 12 of those, but there are some decisions to make on those there. So they've, where there is a risk of harm if somebody goes near the memorials, you'll see there the Mitchell Memorial, the top of the memorial is loose. On the Holding one, the cross is loose. There's a large void underneath the Beatrice one. Stolecross one, that's been laid flat. That was loose. These are all in the churchyard section. The Bailey one, the headstone, is loose. Hancock, it's got a lean on it, so that's where it's got stakes in it to try and support that. And signs have gone on all 12 of these memorials to advise people that there is a potential risk with them, and asking them to contact the town council if they see the memorial. Lancaster one's got a lean on it, as has the Wilcock one. And this is the one that Councillor Rogers was concerned about at the entrance there. So both of those memorials that are next to each other have got a very severe lean on them, so they've been cordoned off. So we need to do some work on these memorials and make a decision one way or another. But and this is where I'm kind of leaping across to section B of the report, if I may.
Yes, of course.
In terms of the next steps, there we are. What we'll need to do is engage with the church and hope that they can try and identify the grave owners and managers. These are all very old memorials, so we think in some cases the information that they hold will be out of date, and it's unlikely that we'll get hold of somebody who is still living and still prepared to maintain that memorial, but we must try that in line with the faculty. We must report back to the diocese on our findings and seek permission from them. And as regards what the next steps would be. So if there are going to be repairs and maintenance work to the memorials, you have to go through a process then again through a further faculty to instruct that work. Where it is possible, or where the signs result in somebody coming to us to speak to us, we'll make contact with relevant relatives and try and arrange for repairs to take place. If none of the exploration work is and results in any grave ownership or management, then we'll need to have a consideration as a town council, being responsible for the maintenance of these sites, as to whether we want to put those right, or whether we want to, you know, in some of the cases, some of the larger headstones, whether we do want to consider laying them flat, or, you know, what actions we need to take from there. So in some respects, very positive. 12 out of over 4,000 memorials is good. Though the ones where there are faults obviously are more complicated to track down, because we don't hold that information. So we'll, if you're happy as a committee, we'll start the process of kind of trying to work with the church to identify families and people involved.
Sounds pretty reasonable, Chief Officer. Councillor Yates and then Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I was just interested in, you know, how the proposal, because it's genealogy in reverse, isn't it, really? You're looking forward from who they are, but that shouldn't be beyond the width of man. I may claim ownership to one of those, as you may have noticed going through. Not quite sure whether he's a great uncle or great grandfather. Yes, but anyway, he's some relation. What is the policy for laying flat? Because I do know historically that is what's happening a lot, and I know it's an emotive subject, and obviously I can say this quite openly in the context that my family name's involved there, so it's not imposing something on other people. So I think I've got. If you go back to the Crusader graves, so to speak, which are there, they were obviously upright at some time, and they're laid flat, and they form part of the footpath in some respects, isn't there? So there is a long-standing church sort of solution to do that. I'm just wondering what the protocol is to do, because obviously those older graves and the two at the back of the church, which I was referring to one of them, are made of sandstone, and sandstone does not, unlike, it's not as resilient as granite or marble. So ultimately there is a time where no matter how many repairs you do, there does come a time where it no longer will suitably stand in your laid flat. I'm just wondering what the sort of proposal and what series of steps, and is the sort of cut off where you don't so much cut your losses, but you actually, it's the pragmatic and sensible decision to preserve it over the grave as a flat stone.
Okay.
Chief Officer.
I think what we need to do is work all that out. Really. I think we're also fortunate in the sense that at least two of those graves, actually there's just some backfilling that needs to be done there. So two of those are resolved. That actually, on the face of it, isn't a lot of need for the potential to lie those memorials flat. But I do think part of what we do over the next few weeks and months is to try and develop what our policy is on that, and to seek some guidance from other burial authorities as well, and just to see what they do. You know, if we can't find some of these families, and actually the cost of repairing or making safe some of those particularly large memorials is out of our reach, then we'll have to make those decisions, and we'll have to do that in a very clear and transparent way. So I think if you're happy with us to kind of start the process of exploration as regards the measures that have been put in place so far, the team have made those areas as safe as possible. As you've seen, they've got bollards and tape and that kind of thing around them. And then I think it would be appropriate for the next meeting, if you're happy with that, if we come to you with an update on who we've managed to find and what proposals we bring to you, and potentially the bare bones of a policy for managing that going forward.
Councillor Jackson.
Well, we've solved one of them. Fairly good. Who says this committee doesn't work? It does. I think we need to be thinking about what length of time we're going to, say we're going to be looking for relatives of these people. And then I don't know whether it might be 6 months or 9 months, whatever it might be, but I think we need a cut-off date where we say we have exhausted everything we can do now. Nobody's come forward from the signs that have been on there. So I think we need a time period. I think we need to be very wary about the town council taking on any remedial work on those, because what will happen then is others come through and say, well, town council paid for that one. You know, they can pay for Uncle Bertie's as well. So I think we need to be very careful about taking that on. I mean, we'll see what comes back from Diocese Lichfield or Chester.
Lichfield Diocese.
See what comes back from them. Obviously, there'll be no money coming from them. It'll be on us one way or another. And it's always really sensitive. You know, it's a very sensitive area, and I think we do have to, you know, walk on eggshells as best we can. But I think we ought to be very wary, like I say, about us taking on some of the remedial work. Because it could be ongoing then. I was just off the top, what did it cost for this exercise? I know I should know it, but I don't.
Not necessarily should know, because we've looked at lots of costs. I can't remember what the costs are either.
I just wondered. I'm thinking about particularly the Woodhouse one. Is it because that is a different setup? They're on concrete. They are not likely to be moving. They're not likely ever to be in a date because of the design of the headstones. And have we still got to go through this process?
What we're required to do is base our testing on risk.
Oh yeah, that's it. There's no risk.
We've drawn a line. You know, we've now done all of the 4,000 plus memorials. Actually, what we'll start to work on and bring back to you is a risk assessment based on how often we should do these. We might decide some of the churchyard ones need doing every year or every two, whereas actually at Woodhouse, a visual inspection once every 5 years is acceptable. It will come up with something to bring to you for consideration, but we needed to kind of go through this process, update all our records and then develop something.
I think we've got a situation where Woodhouse, the only damage that we're liable to suffer is from wayward lawnmower drivers, probably. I've got two further speakers. I've got Councillor Holdsworth, Councillor Jones. Councillor Holdsworth.
My question was simply about timescale of searches, so that's been answered.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just quickly then, actually, I think, Kevin, the old ones are more stable than the new ones. Those are big old stones. They're in the ground about this far, whereas the new ones, they're just sitting on a slab. So if there's any subsidence, if you look in the newer burials where my relatives are, there's a lot more uppy downy than there is on the old ones. Those old ones are very, very old. That's why they've sunk. But I think as we move this forward, rather than talking around the houses till midnight, I think we've mitigated the risk. You've done what you've said.
Yes.
I think you're right. We should have a timescale. We should make every endeavour to trace the relatives within a certain timescale. We can agree that. If we can't trace them, then we've got to put them right. We can't leave them dangerous. Particularly that house looks legal. I mean, the others, as I say, I wouldn't be too worried about because they are in the ground, probably a yard in the ground. They're not going to fall over suddenly. But I think, you know, as I say, you've done what needs to be done and you know what needs to be done. We just need to endorse you cracking on with it, Sarah. No?
And we want a safe churchyard.
Yeah, it's safe now. We mitigated the risk, taped them off.
That's it.
We just move on.
Absolutely. Councillor Lawton, final speaker.
I should like to ask for clarification about tracing relatives, the 12 monuments in question. What's the real purpose of doing this? Is it as a courtesy to let residents or relatives know what might become if they don't intervene? Or is it the purpose to establish financial liability for paying for the job? And in the latter case, particularly, one's very aware with family history that there's an exponential growth in people's descendants with each generation. And is there any regulations concerning a pecking order of liability under those circumstances?
Good question.
That's a great question.
It's a great question, actually.
Very important question.
Spot on, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
If I may, I think really it's a mixture of the two. I think we need to try and identify members of the family who might be willing to make the repairs.
Yeah.
albeit I suspect the initial person who completed the application form within the churchyard will probably also no longer be with us. So actually we can't hold any of those relatives to those kind of agreements to make the repairs. But it might be that within families they want to do that anyway, because actually, if what we're saying is we won't put these headstones, these memorials right, then our option might be to lie them down or to, I don't know, make a splint or whatever we decide to do for them. And actually families might feel they want to do that. Yeah. So it's the same within the churchyard as it is within our area, that actually the family, the grave manager, is responsible for the maintenance of their own memorial. Yeah. So it is their responsibility to do that, albeit, as I say before, I think the initial person who filled in the forms is probably also no longer with us.
Yeah. So I think the general idea is let the chief officer do what she's outlined and what she's happy with. That will give us all our legal liabilities rounded off. So are you happy with that?
Yeah, move that forward.
Are you okay if I then bring a sort of an action plan, as it were, to the next meeting, that we'll have a bit more information in this regards, whether we've found anybody quite quickly or whether it looks like it's going to be a longer process. As kind of an action plan for managing the memorials going forward.
Are you happy with that?
Absolutely.
I am minded that an actual Councillor Yates.
Yeah, just very briefly, I'm thinking, just picking up on Councillor Rogers' first point about the one immediately as you go in. There are certain, not all gravestones are created equally, and obviously I can say that quite comfortably because mine's not created as equally as the one going in. Is there a case for a Moorlands partnership for the ones which are of architectural significance and historical significance, because there are a handful there, and that's not a reflection on the ones which aren't, of which obviously I've got a family member, included in this particular assessment at the moment, so I can say that quite fairly because I know it affects me. But the one which Councillor Rogers was referring to, that is of architectural, if not historical significance.
If that one went over,
well, I am making that gambit, to be honest.
Right. Do you want to comment on that, Chief Officer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that obviously when it comes to heritage and significance, that's got nothing to do with cost and exclusivity. When it comes to gravestones, the significance is on the name, not on the actual gravestone itself. So, for example, there is a very big gravestone in that graveyard, as we identified there, which looks very flamboyant and very nice, but it's actually family stuff. And one of the very names at the bottom of it is of a First World War soldier who died in the First World War. He's not got a First World War grave. He's actually named on the thing. That's why we had to check whether or not,
yes,
that's where historical significance is to be found rather than the design. So if you are going to apply that, you're quite right. But somebody who's an expert in memorial design's got to say, yeah, that's a one-off. Not, yeah, it looks flashy and it's big, but we actually made 10,000 of them. That's the point.
All I was going to say is there is a precedent for partnership for repairing memorials, but I don't know what the criteria is. So I think that's something
it'll be significant.
Would you perhaps? I remember voting on some of these.
I don't know if you said it Ginders or Ginders.
Yes,
that's the one. That's the one that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So it's worth inquiring with Moorlands Partnership to see if there's any possible support once we've established what we're doing. You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yep.
A proposer, please.
Chair.
Seconded. Councillor Jackson with Councillor Jones proposing. All those in favour? Thank you very, very much indeed. We now know exactly which way we're going. Receive a presentation on the development of a new garden of remembrance.
Okay, so I've sent you the email with the initial drawings from the architect in relation to this. Just by way of background on this one, in March 2024, the Recreation and Amenities Committee approved costs for the development of plans for the new garden of remembrance at Woodhouse Burial Ground. The initial scheme design has been completed for information. for your consideration rather. So when they have looked at the area, they've done a phase 1 and a phase 2. So I think probably it would be easier for you to kind of scrutinise this on your own devices. And I wonder whether you want to come back and have some discussions about this, or how you want to move this forward, whether you like a smaller group to consider this. But the phase 1 would be the area that we initially discussed, which is closest to the church, the triangle under the trees.
Yes.
Phase 2 would be the bit next to that. So within that section, they've looked at the various different options that we put forward. And here the design includes these, I forget quite how to term them, they're sort of surface mounted cremated remains stones. It's like so there's no digging involved. That's one of the options that we considered when we were looking at all of the different options. I imagine with these plans, we could include the smaller headstones if you wanted to go back to that idea. But within the various drawings that I've sent to you, you'll also see they've included an area within the kind of phase 2 option where there's a gazebo. He's calling it a crinkle wall, something like that. A brick-built curved memorial wall. So we talked previously as well about being able to attach memorial plaques to this wall from families, or inserting grave into that. The plan also includes, it's called a mulberry tree. It's a sculpture. When we talked about having a kind of remembrance or memory tree, people could buy leaves for that. That is included in there. There are some seating areas, and we can include the post box to heaven if we wanted to include that idea, which some people quite liked. But what he has identified is if we go with something like this scheme, where the initial advice from the planning department had been that we wouldn't need planning permission, but because he's including quite a number of additional features in that, he's now suggesting that he thinks planning permission will be necessary, and we'll have to go through that because we're potentially installing a wall, and because of the kind of building elements of the scheme. So what we're being asked to do is to cast our eyes over the initial plans to see what we like, what we don't like as a committee. He can make some amendments. He can come and talk to the committee if you if you want to set up a working group to look specifically at the designs in much more detail, and we can print those out in quite a large format for you. That the picture that's there is potentially what it would look like with 1 and 2.
Would you like to form a working group to look at this?
Yep.
We could have a specific session just on this. I
think possibly, Councillor Yates, Mr. Mayor, you wish.
I was just wondering if you had an overview map location where it is. I'm trying to visualise where it is.
Where's the car park?
The other end.
Other end.
So where the burial space is at the moment, there's a small triangle that takes you up to the existing pathway. I have to bring you up there.
I'm just looking at that roundabout that's in the middle.
Yeah.
That's the roundabout that's in the middle. To me, that is the car park is just above there. But I'm wrong.
Yeah. It's the other way around.
Is that
way around?
Car park's to the right of that.
Okay.
So is that the quadrant which is bordered on the trees which are on Woodhouse?
Yeah.
Playing fields. Yeah.
So the trees run along the top edge of it.
I mean, they do look. There's some really, really good ideas. Sorry, Chair. There's some really good ideas in here. I think we can really make a nice job of this.
Yeah.
But my main concern is getting maximum book for how much room we've got. I think that's really, really, really important. So if we can sort of have some numbers, perhaps, to these proposals, and as I say, a comparison to what we've got in the other side. With that design, so we can just sort of compare. So we do need to maximise as much space as we can down there.
We do.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just? So my last point. I've got a kind of points page there. So this phase 1 and 2 would be 548 individual stones. This is kind of above grave cremation urns that are termed there. I believe it would be similar if instead of the urns, we went for the smaller headstones. I don't know whether anybody's got a particular preference on that. I think everybody got quite different ideas last time we spoke, which is why we thought about, why we'd said let's pull together some options and let's actually see it.
Mark, just picking up on what Councillor Jackson said in some respects, obviously it's an amortisation of the cost versus, because that has a bearing on the fees and things which we charge, and there's got to be a degree of pragmatic affordability, so to speak, hasn't been ideally in line with the charges which we've got. So that would be an interesting thing to see how each of the sort of population densities compare potential on cost, so to speak, isn't it?
If I may, when we talked about this before, one of the things we've raised with you is that actually the demand for headstones, something that where people can put more words on, is now quite significant in terms of a change really from the brick where you've got a name and some dates to actually people wanting a family grave for cremated remains. So that aspiration is incorporated within this scheme. Within this, I think for these individual plots, you'd charge more than we currently charge for the existing garden of remembrance, because potentially there's more room for cremated remains. It is, as I say, it would become a family grave rather than just a space for two interments, which is got at the moment.
And cremations are becoming more and more popular.
We can do.
If daytime television is anything to go by.
Daytime television's causing it.
What? Yes, daytime television.
I appreciate that. It's that's why I made the comment. Is that there never seems to be a 15-minute slot that goes past that. We're not being offered a funeral cremation deal of some kind.
Or a cruise down the Danube.
Or a cruise down the Danube.
Yes.
Or both.
Yeah.
Or both. Yes. Right. Okay. So, Chief Officer, would you prefer that we do it as a working group, or would you prefer we just have a session?
Or a session.
Of a session.
I'd say.
Session. All right. I think that includes all of us coming and sort of sitting, as many of us can attend, sitting around the table and having a look at some stuff and working it out. Because it's a big project to do.
We've got to get it right, Chair.
In advance of that as well, shall we do some cost modelling?
Please, yes.
How much these individual cremation chambers cost versus other options, and then just try and get an idea.
Councillor Jackson, you wish to comment?
Just as an aside, I'm thinking about, how long have we got? What's the position on the cremated side of the garden remembrance? How much longer have we got?
We could really do with getting on with this year.
Yeah.
Big year.
I think that sums it up in a nutshell, really, that we need to do something with it. Councillor Lawton, final comment.
More questions to think about, really, I feel. With the above surface arrangements that have been introduced to us tonight, questions that arises. First, they're described as family plots or family ones. Yet, I'm sure I read somewhere where the capacity was just 2. Am I mistaken in that? Because I thought that wasn't particularly a great number. Then there's the question, particularly mentioned trees. Now, the traditional stones tend to be, don't have to be, but tend to be polished. Now, what's the finish going to be on these? Because if they're not polished, will they suffer discoloration if they're under trees? And the third thing would be regarding the security of the contents. Sorry to say, but you know how perhaps some people might be. Would those who were reposed there be secure, or could somebody lift the lid and cast them aside?
I'll find out.
So, you have a point there, that we have had a situation going back into the past where somebody actually stole somebody's remains, didn't they?
Oh, heck, that's before my time.
It's way back.
Birkenhead, where the chair was a child.
It was the ashes had suddenly disappeared. and somebody will stop with them.
There's an undertaker under investigation, isn't there? Different. Have been
That's America.
No.
right, not the when the right.
All, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Massachusetts.
So, are you quite happy if the chief officer goes down this way? Councillor Jones, final.
Yeah, just quickly, I was picking up on what Councillor Lawton said. We're not proposing that the urn of ashes is sitting above ground on the stone or next to the stone or in a hole in the stone. Presumably the urn will be buried under the stone. Surely we're not doing it any other way.
It's part of the stone and then sealed within it.
Yes, so there's no access.
Believe
Stone
not.
is installed to get to the remains.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
Exactly. So are you happy that?
make it clear, Chair,
Yes.
people watching it, that, we've got to reassure people, people thinking they're just going to be there in a pot next to the stone with the name on.
Yes.
It can be very good.
Thank you. So we'll let the chief officer proceed as per.
Well, can we have some agreements?
All
Chair,
right.
if that's all
I
right.
need a proposal and a second.
So can we have a meeting in a couple of weeks?
Couple of weeks, yes.
Whatever suits you.
Do we want an early evening meeting or what's
What
it?
would you like?
Don't mind.
Evening? You happy with early evening? Okay, we'll do that. And secondly, anything
That's
else?
all right. Then we'll spend a bit more time scrutinising this and come back then to committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And you'll bring the costings to that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll kind of do some costing.
Some rough notes.
Just a thought, and I'll be led by Sarah. Would it be worth getting the architect into that meeting as well? Would it service any purpose at all?
He's absolutely happy to come and meet. I wonder if we just need to get our thinking straight before
Yes.
we.
Fair enough.
Then we know what we're asking him to do.
Yeah. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? No. Thank you. Very good. We're moving forward. Chief Officer, number 7. Consider an item referred from Town Council in April 2024. Highway concerns on Hall Road.
Yes, we when the member of the public came to speak to the town council, I believe provided some assurances at the time, but there was also a conversation about considering those concerns in greater detail at the next Recreation and Amenities Committee. Highways concerns obviously do fall within the remit of this group.
Yes.
So that's what we need to do.
Right. Okay. So
Speeding was raised as a concern. Do we want to write a letter to the Highways Department on behalf of the Town Council to raise some concerns about speeding and doing?
it's your division, Councillor Yates.
Well, to be honest, I mean, this is going on. I mean, I should, in some respects, declare another interest on this, because if not me, certainly my family and granddaughter are traipsed down there at least twice a day. So, I've got a vested.
If that's got to be done, then I think me and Councillor Holdsworth need to declare the fact.
Well, exactly. I'm saying that just to put it into context, because I absolutely do agree that traffic hardening is required here, as it is in various other places in the town. Unfortunately, it does have to go through a capital process, and it does have to be evidence-based. And unfortunately, I've had communication to and fro with Councillor Holdsworth on this. There was a survey commissioned by Councillor Lawson previously, and I can't believe the email response which I got off Highways, which I will, if you will indulge me, I'll read out. It's only take a second or two. Thank you for your inquiry below. Please accept my apologies for the delay in the response. Unfortunately, I've been unable to locate any previous data count on our system requested for Halls Road by County Councillor Lawson, and I know he did, and I know we've sight of it. I have asked our traffic data team for assistance in locating any previous information for Halls Road, and will advise accordingly. And then he goes on to say that I advise you that a data count for Halls Road will be completed within the feasibility study you have funded, which is my personal DHP fund for years 24, 25. So there is one due to take place. Now that is delayed because of obviously the roadworks and the resurfacing which is carrying on there. And I see the roadworks and the resurfacing as a natural progression to get the surface right, to be able to put potentially put traffic calming on there, subject to this report meeting the criteria, and I really sincerely hope it does, and then subject to a successful capital funding bid, which I am reasonably confident it will. Now, what I have said to the lead resident on this is do a petition, because that builds up the pressure. And I know she's been doing that petition because I happened to meet somebody on Station Road below, and she did say she'd signed a petition. So I'm glad that that's been done. And I'm happy, obviously, to present that as the town councillor, the county councillor for that area, at ideally the July meeting before we have the August recess. And then that will give a formal written response about the potential pragmatism for putting traffic calming on that section, and then we can take from there. So it is progressing. Anything to do with highways and change to highways, whether it be gritting or whatever, progresses at a glacial pace. But everything which we've done and pushed is trying to accelerate that as fast as we can.
Yes, thank you. I've got Councillor Jones and then Councillor Holsworth. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Well, actually, Chair, I fully sympathise with the residents and I applaud their initiative for coming in and talking to us, but I am not happy with this council putting this forward as a special case. There are residents all over this area that are in a similar position. Park Lane, New Street, Rudyard Road, Oxade Drive, Woodhouse Lane. They're all equally as important and equally as concerning to residents. I don't want us to be putting this forward as a special case to county, when a lot of these other ones have been in the queue a lot longer than Halls Road. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Holsworth.
Just to let the group know, an email has been sent to Mark DeVille spelling out all that has happened recently. There's also been a freedom of information request where it stated that there has been 17 accidents in Halls Road Station Road in 10 years. And of those, in those accidents, 16 people have been injured.
Yeah. I know that crossing the road from 67 Halls Road to my car parked, I wonder sometimes how my car hasn't been ploughed into by some young chap on his mobile phone driving his BMW on the wrong side of the road, which I have seen many, many times there. And I know it's exceptionally dangerous to the point where my partners, I suppose I should declare an interest in this, that my partner's neighbour has to walk down the road to cross the road because she daren't cross on the corner because it's not safe. So thank you for that, Councillor Holsworth.
If I could just say as well again that I think this is a special case because not only is the road dangerous, it's dangerous for pedestrians on the pavement, it's dangerous for residents to be in their front gardens because at least 2 walls have been completely demolished.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, there is a lot of other areas in Biddle that need attention as well, but this Halls Road one, as Councillor Holsworth just said, these 2 walls within quite a short period of time have been flattened. One was late at night and the other one was school time. My granddaughter was just getting past, just climbing out of the car. You know, it's frightening what goes on. But how long have I been asking for Halls Road Junction to be highlighted? I've been asking for years now. People come whistling up Halls Road. It's a bit unusual, Halls Road, as in many ways, that you've got a halt sign in the middle of a road. It doesn't happen very often. The priority is Station Road, Halls Road. The other section of Halls Road's got a halt sign on it.
Yeah, thank you.
And as you come up there, the chap who lives close to it, he's contacted me many times. He's heard his car screeching, all sorts. It's in a slight dip, the road. As you come up there, there's no halt signs, there's nothing. There's a white line on the road, which is in a slight dip. People just go flying straight through it.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, you want to go?
Serious, but there is other serious points as well in the town. They all need pulling together.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just pick it up on the point about pavements. There are no pavements on New Street. There are no pavements off at Rudyard Road. There are no pavements on most of Woodhouse Lane. There is no safe walking route out to my village. Those roads should take priority, Chair.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Jackson.
Just quick,
wish to come-
I'm 95% certain that Councillor Madeline Lovett, when she was county councillor, had surveys done there as well. So the county council, they might spend quite a lot of money on the surveys bit, but struggle to get the money to do the actual work. And that, you know, I honestly think there is information within the county council somewhere. Yeah, and I've listened to the email. Yeah.
I want to try and contain.
Point of clarification, I did see sight of the surveys, the old surveys, and I had this discussion. We had two surveys done at the same time. One was Tower Hill Road, and one was Halls Road. I might get the terminology wrong, but you get percentiles of speed, don't you? Something I think they call percentiles of speed. Tower Hill Road came back saying that there may just about be just the percentile of cars travelling over 37 miles an hour or whatever was just about on the borderline to justify perhaps every once in a blue moon to have a speed restriction ban. The Halls Road one came through, and I'm sorry, I can only remember it. I haven't physically got a copy, can't believe why not. Basically saying there's no issues identified with speeding on Halls Road. Now, that's partly because, as much as they are moments in time, against all the traffic which goes, it's a very, very busy road, as Woodhouse Laners, as Dorset drivers, as others, and I have representations on the same. I do agree that it's worthy, but my fear is that the survey will actually give them a reason for denying something. And that's part of the problem. That's why we've got to build the strength up. And I do strongly emphasize, and I've walked around and I'm trying, I am, facilitating what I can, which includes a third of my total budget being spent on doing the survey.
Sure. Thank you. Back very quickly. I can't understand why, I'm not doubting what you're saying about there's no surveys found. Council Halsworth's got 16, 17 cases.
It's not a survey. That's not a traffic survey. That's an accident data. It's
accident rate.
Accident data.
These are monitored. Those special cameras put in now.
Okay, so we've discussed this. We'll see how it transforms. Adrian, I want to try and please make it very, very brief.
Just very, very, very briefly, just clarification, having been involved in this sort of thing, I believe it's the 85th percentile value of the data.
Yeah.
In other words, for every 100 cars or vehicles that you're recording, you look at the 85th fastest one and say, what speed is that vehicle doing? There's the other 15 out of the 100 going faster than that. And it's a value of that 85th percentile that is compared with national standards.
Yeah,
that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the clarification.
Right.
Yes, you are.
Now we're going to move on. Next agenda item.
Sorry, Chair. Are we monitoring that?
We're monitoring that.
Yeah. Okay.
We are monitoring.